Hi, this is David from Ash IT. Really excited for today's review because finally after a long wait we've got in the Lenovo ThinkPad X1 Nano. This is like a ThinkPad Air. It's a 900 gram laptop, 13 inch, and finally a 16 by 10 inch screen. All the things I absolutely love in an everyday sort of notebook that you're going to carry around and do some work on. Now if you're a long time ThinkPad user, there's one problem with this that might put you off, so we're going to talk about it right from the get-go. We're going to start looking at the ports. Now if we look at the left side of the laptop, you'll see that we've got a headset jack and two Thunderbolt 4 ports. That is it. That is the entirety of your ports. So if you are a long-time ThinkPad user, used to your connectivity, you have to brace yourself for this laptop and accept it for what it is. This really is an ultra portable. As I say, 13 inch, 16 by 10 inch screen, 900 grams. It just feels like an iPad when you pick it up. It's absolutely incredible. It's got your usual ThinkPad soft touch finish with a Lenovo logo on one side and a ThinkPad X1 logo on the other with a little red light that lights up when it's in sleep. On the front, all you've got is just your little cutouts for your microphones for the noise suppression. On the right, you've got your vent and you've got a power button. Now this has got pros and cons. You've got a power button on the side. You can see it flashing because the laptop's currently sleeping. Now this is great for one reason, in that you can plug it into your monitor and you can turn the laptop on and off with a keyboard and mouse, but I can see that this isn't always necessarily going to be the ideal placement. If you actually got the laptop open and using it, you might be fumbling around trying to find it. But having picked it up and played with it, I haven't accidentally hit it at all, so I think the actual placement of it is pretty good. Now on the back, all we've got is our little SIM tray. Now in the UK there is only actually one model available for this laptop currently, and it's £2,000, so this is an absolute expensive premium ultrabook. But for your money, you're getting the i7 Tiger Lake processor, 16 gigabytes of high-speed RAM, a 512 gigabyte M.2 PCIe SSD, and it also includes an LTE modem for your data card if you actually happen to have a data plan. Now for me personally, because I do take these laptops out and about and use them out in the field, having an actual SIM tray in there so I can use a data plan is absolutely amazing, so I can work on the go without having to worry about Wi-Fi hotspots or jumping on someone else's Wi-Fi. So that to me was a big positive, and it's something we are going to look at later on. Now we've got this laptop open, so we're going to take a quick look as we always do, starting from the actual deck of the laptop and working our way up. You'll notice straight away on the left hand side we've got an Intel Evo sticker, because this comes under the new Intel Evo range. Now what that basically means is you've got pretty much instant resume times when you open the laptop, and that's one thing I do love about this. You open it up and boom, you're straight in. You've got good battery life. They reckon at least 9 hours. You also have to have Windows Hello. Now with this laptop we do have a fingerprint reader here, but we've also got Windows Hello, which is really accurate and really impressive. So all in all, it gives you a good all-round ultrabook with this branding, and so far from the testing of this laptop it certainly has lived up to that. Then moving along, we've got a nice and smooth Windows Precision touchpad. This glides around nicely, very responsive. Not quite as big as a Mac touchpad, not quite as decent as a Mac touchpad, because you've still always got with Windows touchpad an actual dive board mechanism. It works really well, but if you're used to the forced touch on the Macs, then this is a bit of a step down. But for my use, I'm more than happy using this day to day. You'll also notice on the right hand side of the trackpad, we've got a fingerprint reader, and then to the very right we've got the ThinkPad logo. And all of that has the nice soft touch finish, which I think some people love, some people hate. I personally love this because it does make the laptop particularly comfortable to rest your hands on and use. No sharp edges. But the only downside to this is it can get grubby and it does attract sort of finger oils, so you will be constantly cleaning it. Now as we move up the deck, we've got the usual ThinkPad backlit keyboard, 2 stages of white backlight, the usual sort of ThinkPad layout, but one thing that we will notice with this extremely thin and light laptop is they've reduced the key travel down to about 1.3 millimeters. Now I was a bit worried at first, thinking, oh, I hope it doesn't feel like an Apple butterfly keyboard or anything, but from my time using this machine, the keys are nice and crisp. They still feel great, just like a ThinkPad should, but they just bottom out a little bit quicker. So I think, it may take you a day or so to adjust if you're used to typing on a ThinkPad keyboard, but you'll soon, I think, be more than happy with this keyboard. And I'm typing at a good speed again, just after using it for a couple of days. Really happy with it. And in the middle of the keyboards, if you're a ThinkPad user, you'll already know, but there's the nub and the buttons for the nub, obviously just above the trackpad. Now as we move slightly further up the machine, you'll notice we've actually got upward firing speakers. Now the great thing about this laptop is we've got 2 upward firing speakers and 2 downward firing speakers as well, and it actually does sound great. We will do an audio test in a second once we've had a look around all of the actual machine. Now we move up to the screen, which is one of the main reasons I was interested in this ThinkPad. I'm not a big fan of 16:9 screens. I've always loved 16:10 or even 3:2 screens if you're coming from an actual work background. Having that extra space for spreadsheets, programming, whatever you're doing is invaluable if you are working on a tiny screen like this in the first place. Now I've got the 13-inch 2160 by 1350 450 nit matte screen. There is also a glossy touchscreen as well, but personally I'm not a big fan of glossy screens. I would much rather have a matte screen because I'm going to be using it outside usually, or maybe a well-lit room, and I don't want those reflections if I can help it. So I always go for the matte option. I find it quite uncomfortable leaning over the laptop keyboard to touch the laptop screen. That's just me. I know a lot of people do want a touchscreen in a laptop, and obviously Lenovo have got that covered as well, so you can take your pick. But in the UK, we don't actually even have that choice at the moment. It is purely the matte screen. Now the screen itself is absolutely beautiful. It gets very bright. I haven't calibrated it or anything yet, but it looks nicely colour accurate, very vibrant, and just been an absolute joy to use so far. It's very crisp being a 2K screen as well, so not your standard sort of 1080p. And in all honesty, even on a 13-inch screen, a 1080p is more than sufficient in my view. But obviously this is higher than that. And I'm running at 150% on the display scaling. Obviously everything's quite large at this, but you can adjust it to suit you. So if you're working on a large spreadsheet, you can then drop that down to 125% or 100%. And you've obviously got tiny pixels, but you've got a lot of information on that screen. You're probably squinting at it, but there you go. And as we move to the top of the screen, we've got the webcam and the IR facial recognition for Windows Hello. And this is the test of the camera and the microphone on the X1 Nano. Now the Windows Hello has been working brilliantly, and it's much quicker. I mean, I've got it on a Razer Blade Stealth, and it's much quicker than that, logging you in, up to speed with pretty much the Surface Pro 7, so that's quite impressive. And then to the right, we've got the usual ThinkShutter. Now you'll see if you move it across, you get a little red dot in the actual webcam to show you that it's actually not working, it's covered. And then you just slide it back open to allow that webcam to work again. Now the first iteration of this ThinkShutter was really difficult to use, but this one is nice and easy to slide with your thumbnail, so you can open and close your webcam as you see fit. So we're just going to fire up some royalty-free music on YouTube, clearly not my favourite track, but there we go. We're going to actually test the actual speakers. Now this is at 30% volume, and I'm going to fire it up now. Now I'm going to increase the volume a little bit. This is 50%. So for ThinkPad speakers, they're actually really quite impressive. We've reviewed the ThinkPad P1 Gen 2, and we've also reviewed the ThinkPad T14 Ryzen edition, and these speakers blow both of those away. So for a good all-round machine, these are quite impressive. Now, whilst we talk about music, we tested the battery as well, streaming music. Completed a YouTube music streaming test on Wi-Fi at 50% brightness, and I disabled all the power settings and left it on sort of battery saver mode. Now this completed about 9 hours and 20 minutes of battery life under those conditions. So it's not the best battery life out there, but that's, you'll probably get an all-day light use of spreadsheets or Word documents. Obviously, if you're doing something like video editing or 3D rendering, then that's going to kill your battery. But if you're a light user, you'll get all-day battery life out of this. Now also as well, if you're worried about your battery life and carrying your power adapter with you, the one good thing is you get a really nice compact 65 watt Lenovo power adapter to chuck in your bag. It's reasonably hefty for the size that it is, but it's still light in your bag. But it's tiny, so you'll be able to slide this straight into one of your little bag pockets, something you won't even know it's there. So that's a plus point. So let's look at the performance of this laptop. We're only going to do a brief performance test today because we'll be doing a follow-up video in the next couple of days. We're going to look more in depth into performance and gaming on this little laptop, because this is the first sort of Evo sort of processor that we've had, so we are going to sort of spend a bit more time on it. So we've just run a few benchmarks today. The first one we completed was Cinebench R20. Now this scored 2,095 points in the multi-core benchmark. Now that's not bad. You've got to bear in mind this isn't the full power Tiger Lake processor. This is the slightly lower powered version. So 2,095 points, that's not bad at all. We then completed a run on Geekbench i5 CPU test, which scored 1,386 for the single core and 4,678 on the multi-core score. Now this is, again, it's a little bit less than the Dell XPS that we had with the Tiger Lake processor, but bear in mind that Dell XPS has the 25 watt i7, whereas I believe this caps at about 15 watt on this model. So that will definitely score higher than this. So then we completed the Geekbench OpenCL, which scored 14,137. So this is still quite impressive. This is certainly much better than the 10th gen i7s that we got from a year ago. That was scoring about 10,000 on this benchmark, so it's still quite a boost over that processor. So considering how thin and light and quiet that this runs, this is quite a good score. Finally, we completed a TimeSpy benchmark to show off the sort of graphics capabilities, and it scored 1,413 with a graphics score of 1,260 and a CPU score of 4,584. So you can see this is certainly no gaming laptop, but then it was never meant for that. This is more of a business class multimedia sort of laptop. So, you know, you can probably play some low-end games on that, and we will be testing that soon. But the good thing about this, as I say, during our testing, the keyboard has never got hot. Now that's quite a feat, because certainly with laptops before, you know, you'd be running some gaming benchmarks and you can feel the heat scorching off the keyboard. During our testing, it got warm on the right-hand side, but not overly hot. And also wasn't particularly loud as well. Now in the next couple of days, we will be running that full performance video on this laptop, and we will record the decibel meter readings when it is on full load as well. But from an idle point of view, you won't even hear this laptop. It's most of the time it is actually silent. I don't think the fans are spinning at all. And on sort of day-to-day use, I found that they spin it very, very lightly. If you put some processor load on there, you're certainly not going to be bothered by the fan in this machine. Now I've just put Dota 2 on medium-high settings at about 1080p, and we're getting about between 60 and 70 frames per second. Game's looking really nice. Laptop is not heating up yet, which is nice, and also it's really quiet. So quite a pleasant experience. Now again, this is quite an old low game, you don't need a lot of power to play this game. But this isn't a gaming laptop, you're not going to be running Call of Duty on here. As I say, we will be doing full sort of light gaming benchmarks on this machine in an upcoming video. So if you are interested in that, please make sure you hit subscribe and click your notification bell. Okay, so on to the conclusion. I've been playing with this for a little while now, and it's a really lovely little machine. It is very expensive at about £2,000 in the UK. And I know that in the US and other places you can actually configure it and bring the cost down. And I would recommend, if you are able to configure it, probably pick up an i5, because I don't think you're going to see that much of a difference with an i7. But for that money, you are getting a really lovely package. You're getting an amazing screen, a wonderful ThinkPad keyboard, and this for me is one of the highlights that I do type on. I like a decent keyboard. A good trackpad, your fingerprint reader, your Windows Hello camera, Thunderbolt 4 ports on the side. Admittedly, that is your only port, so you're going to be probably living the dongle life like as if you're an Apple user. And you're also getting good battery life and a laptop that doesn't get too hot and loud, which if you had an XPS or some of the other laptops, they do get quite noisy. Now I can't stress enough just how light this is at 900 grams. It really is feather light. And if you are on the go regularly or continuing, maybe not at the moment, but obviously normally. And at 900 grams and a light power adapter, you can throw them both in your bag, wander around all day, and you're hardly even going to notice they're there. It really is, for the power you're getting and the size of this machine, quite impressive. What I also loved as well is the fact that it doesn't get overly loud. Even when you're actually gaming or putting this through its paces on load, you get a little bit of heat out the side, but the keyboard isn't massively heating up and the fans don't crank up like other laptops. So this is a really, really comfortable work/stroke multimedia laptop. And for a ThinkPad as well, it's got surprisingly good speakers. This is something, as a ThinkPad user, you kind of get used to not having. And every other ThinkPad in the past, the speakers have been passable at best. These are actually pretty good. And I wouldn't want to say be listening to music all day on them, but you could in a pinch, and you can certainly be listening to YouTube videos or podcasts on it. So really quite impressive. Now we're going to be doing a lot more in-depth testing on this laptop over the next few days. So as I said, please subscribe and hit the notifications bell if you are interested in this laptop, you'd like to see some more content on it. But so far, I am thoroughly impressed, and this may well be my next everyday beta. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and there'll be more content coming soon.